Lick number 16 is called train wreck bends. There's not much to say about this other than that if your fingers hurt now, just wait until we're finished. The bends that you hear in this lick are the infamous multi-string bends that you can hear Stevie Ray Vaughan do, especially in songs like Texas Flood. I call them train wreck bends. I have no idea where I started using that term, but that's just kind of the only term that I can think of to describe how they sound. And it took me years to figure out the secret to actually making these things sound musical as opposed to just a bunch of screeching noise. The secret is you have to have a good underlying bend as your template to which you're applying the multi-string technique. It's no different than any other lick. You're not just doing random bends. You have to have a lick that actually sounds good on its own. So the lick that we use as the template for this, 3 lead-in bends on the 8th fret of the E string, then another full step bend that happens right at the first beat of bar number 1. Let that bend come back down. And then drop 1 fret and bend up and come back a little bit. And then back up again at the 8th fret. So that's kind of the first section. 3 lead-in bends, a descending bend at the 8th fret, up and back bend again here at the 7th fret, and then 1, 2, 3, 8, 7, 8 on the E string again, each one going up but not coming back down. So the first 2 go up and come back down a little bit. The last 3 in this section are all upward bends that don't come back down. Now that's critical because you've got to maintain that structure when you apply the multiple strings. Now pay attention to kind of the relative height of those bends because there's a lot of motion of pushing up, then coming back and up a little bit farther, and then gradually pushing up again that's going on there. So that's the first segment of the lick. And as we get back to this point, the second segment of this lick is another descending full step bend at the 8th fret, another descending bend at the 7th fret, and then a kind of sharp ascending bend at the 8th fret, and then another half step bend at the 7th fret of the E string. And then we descend, 6 on the E, 8 on the B. Now I'm going to play the full lick without the multiple strings slowly so that you can see the underlying bend. Pay attention to the ones that go up and have that kind of whining descent and the ones that are real sharp. All right, so if we're just playing that would be easy. We'd be done. The problem is we're adding 2, and if you can hack it, 3 strings into your bend. So what's going to happen is as you do this first 3 bends, as you regroup for this 4th bend that's going to hit right at the first beat of bar number 1, you kind of want to roll your fingers back and then kind of roll them over the strings That's what it sounds like with 3 E, B, and G string. Here's what it sounds like with 2. So that's the most challenging part, is that you've got to keep at every point in this lick when you're doing these bends, you have to have pressure on the strings so that the strings don't snap back to where they naturally want to be. So when you switch from your ring finger to your middle finger, my middle finger never relaxes when I'm doing these. You have to keep that pressure to keep these strings. You see how they're each bending by a different amount, but your finger is what's keeping them in check there. Now when you hit the second segment, that's your chance to regroup. If you've lost one of the strings in the first segment, when you hit that first bend of the second segment, that's your chance to regroup and kind of gather all those strings together again. So I'm going to play the whole thing real slow one last time here.